go. Chapter 1. This first chapter you're gonna find is a lot of similar topics to Algebra 1 that you took way back in the day before geometry, okay? So a lot of things might seem familiar to you. It's not gonna stay that way, but you know, because there is a year between Algebra 1 and this class, right? There is always a little bit of review in the beginning. Again, it's not gonna stay that way. Very soon we're gonna get into like some really brand new stuff. So the reason why we do this is because we really want to like reinforce the fundamentals, okay? All right. So in algebra, okay, we have numbers and we have variables, right? Variables are symbols, and usually they're letters that are used to represent unspecified numbers or values. So for example, X, Y, Z are the common variables, right? It could be A, D, W, whatever, all right? Any letter, R, T, any of the alphabet can be used as a variable, okay? So when you have a mix of numbers, variables, and so on, that is called an expression, right? Or an algebraic expression. It's a sum or product of numbers and variables. So for example, 3x plus 5, write that bigger. Okay, that's an expression. I don't know, 7a plus 2y, that could be an expression, right? 5mn can be an expression. Do any of these have an equal sign? No. Okay. Okay. So now when you have an expression, you can split it down further into separate terms. So a term of an expression is a number, variable, and so on. So for example, look at this one. You have a 2x and you have a 4. Each of these are terms. They are separated by a plus or a minus. Okay? All right. So now look. This term has a variable. Okay? It's a variable term. This term doesn't have a variable. It's a constant term. Okay? All right. When you have a multiplication expression, the quantities that are being multiplied are called what? So if you have like 5 times 3, what is 5 and 3 called? Huh? Oh, no, but what did you say? Okay, that's the next thing I'm going to ask. And then the 5 and the 3 that are being multiplied are called factors. And the result when you multiply two factors is a product. Okay, so in math there are several ways to write products, okay, or to say that two things are being multiplied by each other. It's either like this, x, y next to each other. You put the multiplication dot in between. One of them is in parentheses, or two of them are in parentheses. None of these are more correct than the other one. They're all the same thing and they all are equally okay, right? Except if you're multiplying two numbers, a 5 and a 3, you can't just write it like this, like an x times y. That's a 53. So you have to, have one grouping symbol, okay? All right. Okay, so take a look here. An expression like x to the n, okay? This is called a power. Okay, so for example, if you have 3 to the power of 3 squared, that's a power. This is a power. The whole thing together is a power. Okay, but that word power can also refer just to the exponent, okay? All right, so the exponent is the number of times the base is multiplied by itself, right? So if we have 3 squared, this is 3 times 3. You multiply the 3 2 times. Okay? All right, so when you have a power like this, x to the n, what is the x called? Is it the exponent?
No.
It's
power.
The whole thing is the power, x to the n.
Oh.
The n is the exponent, and the x is the base. Okay, so base, and then exponent. Ooh, that's not what I meant to do. Huh? Okay, who did that? This is the exponent. Okay, questions? Okay, so because you guys are all, you've like successfully completed Algebra 1, right? There are some operations that you are expected to remember to do without even a calculator, all right? So we're gonna try some of these. All right, so we're gonna evaluate these expressions. So to evaluate means to just find its numerical value. Okay, so just find the answer. So 3 squared, right? 9. Okay, all right. 18 times 2, 36.
36.
Okay, so 2 cubed, this is 2 times 2 times 2. And don't be afraid to write it out. Just, find the right answer in the end, right? And that'll be 8. Okay, so a half minus a 4.
A fourth.
A fourth. You can do that in your head if you want. Or if you, don't feel like doing that. You have to turn it into a common denominator, right? So, what will be the common denominator here?
4.
4, right?
So it's just 2/4 minus 1.
Exactly. So you multiply, this by 2 in order to make it a fourth. So it'll be 2/4 minus 1/4, which is a fourth. So if it's like, halves and quarters like this, I also think to myself, okay, if I have a half a dollar and I give away a quarter, how much do I have left? A quarter. Or, making a common denominator will never fail you. Okay? All right. So, order of operations. Remember PEMDAS? We've seen this before, PEMDAS, and then there's all these silly things to remember, right? Like, what's one to remember PEMDAS? For me, it's just easier to remember PEMDAS, but have you seen those acronyms? Like the mnemonics, it's like, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Have you heard that? It's more complicated to remember than just PEMDAS, isn't it? Or there is another one. Huh?
Punching elephants may determine.
No, but purple eggplants make delicious afternoon snacks. Have you heard that one before? Yeah, I know. So weird. Just remember PEMDAS, right? Okay.
I have one.
Uh-huh.
Punching elephants may determine a sneeze.
Sure. If you can go ahead and remember that, fine. Or you can just remember PEMDAS. Okay, so what does it mean though? So when you have an operation or a series of operations, there is a hierarchy, a rule, what goes first, what goes second, and so on. Parentheses for P for parentheses always take precedence. They always come first. So first you do parentheses. Now it doesn't have to look like parentheses. It could be a bracket, it could be a curly bracket, and so on. Okay, so parentheses comes first. Then E is for exponents. Okay, then notice here the M and the D are connected, they're combined. That's because multiplication and division happen equally from left to right. And then the A and the S are grouped together because addition and subtraction also happen equally from left to right, right? And if you go on on social media, there's always these things. It's like, can you figure this out? And it's like something like this. And, people always get the wrong answer because they don't know how to do PEMDAS for some reason. All right, so let's do this one. So here I have Addition and multiplication. Which one's going to go first? The multiplication. So this is going to be 22 plus 3 times 7. That's 21. And then I just add and it becomes 43. Okay? All right, here, which one's going to go first? The division. So this is going to be 12. Okay, so take a look at what I have here. Minus 6 divided by 3. Okay, take the minus with the 6. Minus 6 divided by 3. What is that? Negative 2. So here we get a minus 2, right? And that's going to be a 10.
So you do the division first.
Correct. So here.
You do the exponent first.
Yes.
64.
So 10 plus the exponent, 64, minus 16.
Wait, 58. I think. Something around that.
You're right, it's 58. Okay, fabulous. Okay, what about the next one?
You do the parentheses first.
Parentheses first, so 12 minus 6 is 6 times 25. Okay, 6 times 25. So here, 4 of the 25s will make 100, and then you've got 2 more 25s, okay? 4 of the 25s is 100, 2 more 25s is 150. So all of this, you should be comfortable with doing by hand, like without a calculator, okay? Now this one I was a little slow with because I woke up at 4 this morning and I'm already feeling like it's like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. But, you know, yeah.
I go to the bathroom.
Can you wait a little bit? Because I would rather you be here when I'm teaching. And we just started class, yeah? So, okay. All right. Okay. One. I have 11 times 7, which I'm going to do first. 77 minus 9 times 8 these days? 72. That's a total of 5. Okay. So here, let's start with parentheses, right? So 108 divided by. Okay, now I have brackets. Inside I have parentheses. You go to the innermost level. So 3 times. Now here, it's going to be 9 plus, I got to do that 27. I'm sorry, I got to do the exponent first. So 3 squared is 9. Right? So now let's work our way out. So that's 108 divided by 3 times 18.
54.
Okay. I have a 54. Does everybody agree?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's 108 divided by 54. Right. Fabulous. Okay. So a fraction bar is also a grouping symbol. Okay? It's like the numerator and the denominator are, items in parentheses. It's like when you have 6 plus 4 divided by this, it's like if you had 6 plus 4 in parentheses divided by, in parentheses, 3 squared times 4, right? So it's like each of these are in parentheses, so you got to do them separately. So now look. The biggest thing that I try to teach my students more than the math is organization, okay? So when you have something like this, I always, before I do anything else, equal sign, fraction bar, okay? So now let's do the top. 6 plus 4, 10. And then on the bottom, 3 squared is what? 9 times 4, 36. Okay, can we leave the answer like this? Oh no. We have to divide both by 2. So this becomes 5, this becomes 18, and that will be your final answer. Now, if you don't have a calculator, you can't put it in decimal form. If you leave it as 10 over 36, you will not get full credit. Okay, so depending on how many points it is, you will get some points off. Okay, so let's go ahead and do B for me, please. here's another important thing, right? Do you see how many steps this took, right? Many of your problems are going to take steps. Now, in this class, more than the math, I like to get my students to become sophisticated math students, which means, do you see all of these equal signs in between the steps? Don't skip those, because if you don't have these equal signs, then it's just random numbers on a page, which is not what we do in math, right? You got to put the equal sign. So please. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the bottom three, C, D, and E. I'm going to give you guys like 3 to 4 minutes to do C, D, and E. Okay, let's do it. Okay, maybe I'll race you to it. What do you think? Right? Okay, so now take a look at what happens here. This is 1 over 4 divided by 2, right, times 6. So now I have multiplication and division. I'm just going to do all of these in one shot from left to right. So how else can I write divided by 2? Is that the same thing as times 1/2? Yep, times 6. So now this is 6 over 1. So this will be 1 times 6 is 6, all over 8, 3/4. Okay? All right. Oops. Okay. All right. So how about evaluating algebraic expressions? So you guys have seen this before. You have to evaluate this, but you're given values for this. So let's do a couple of these. So 2t, 2 times 11, so in parentheses, 2 times 11 plus 3 times 2 divided by 4. This is 22 plus 6 divided by 4. 28 divided by 4, 7. Did I go too fast? Okay, let's go ahead and let's do C. Oh, we got to turn those off before we put them in there. Let's do C. So R times S times T. 2 times 3 times 11. Do you see how, I sometimes do parentheses, sometimes not, right? And then S, 3, minus R, 2. So, what do you all think? 2 times 3 is 6, times 11, 66. Over 1, that's a good old 66. Okay. Let's do D. So R minus 2 times, in parentheses, T minus 3 squared. Do you see how this looks identical to this? I am not allowed to change any of that. Just copy it over and do the operations. Okay, so 2 minus 2. 11 minus 3 is what these days? 8 squared. Okay, I never give extra credit or extra points if a student does the whole thing in their head and, oh my God, look at how good of a math student I am. I can do it all in my head. No. And you don't get points taken off for showing more work. It's just the opposite. Please, 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 nobody will think less of you as a student if you show step by step what you've done. So please take care, show all the steps so you can get the right answer in the end, right? Please. Okay, so this is 2 minus 2 times 64. Now we're getting into some real numbers here. So what's that going to be? Minus or plus? What do you guys think? So I have this 2. And then here I have negative 2 times 64. So is that going to be minus or plus?
It's gonna be.
This is going to be a negative 128. So it's going to be a negative 128. So that's negative 126 altogether. Okay. Question? Okay, what about this one? So let's see. Now we got some fresh numbers. A, which is 4, minus. Okay, now B is a negative, so I have to put parentheses around that one. Okay? Negative 5 times C is 0 plus, okay, B squared. B is negative 5. I have to put it in parentheses because what is being squared? The B. The negative 5 in its entirety is being squared. So now, here I have 4. How much is this mess? 0. So 4 plus 0 plus, is this positive or negative 25? Positive 25. Good. So for a total of 29. Okay. Well, the next one's kind of fun. So I have 2 times 4 plus 5 times negative 5 to the power of 0. What's anything to the power of 0?
Oh, it's just a 0.
It's a 1.
It's just itself?
It's 1. It's just 1. So this whole thing is just 1. So if I have 3 to the 0, it's 1. If I have x to the 0, it's 1.
So
Anything to the 0 is 1. Yes.
I always forget this, but how do I remember when it's that you're doing a negative to the power of something, if it's going to be equal to a negative or a positive?
Okay, so if the exponent is even, right? So if you have negative 5 to the power of 2, it'll be positive. Why? Because it's negative 5 times negative 5, negative makes positive. But if it's odd, then it'll be negative because you have negative 5, negative 5, negative 5, right? These two make positive, and then you have an additional negative. So even, positive, odd, negative.
Is there a different rule when there's like not parentheses around it?
Yes. So if there is not parentheses around it, so for example, if you have, you know, a negative outside the parentheses and then 5 squared, that square only belongs to the 5. So it will be negative 25. Okay? Yeah. Uh-huh. So why don't we do D? This is going to be 8 divided by A. Sorry. Thank you. Which is 4 times what's B? Negative 5 over 5. Ooh, that's a fun one. 8 divided by 4 times what's this? Just negative 1. So this is 8 divided by negative 4, which is?
It's negative 2. Oh.
Negative 2. Okay, so let's do this one quickly. M12 plus 3 minus negative 1 squared. So this is 12 plus, how much is this? 4 squared, which is 16. So that's 12 plus 16, 28. Okay, you see how I'm writing every single step? I'm not cheating you out of any steps, right? So please, please, please show your work. Okay, so M plus 2 times negative 1 plus 4. 12. Now this becomes negative 2. Okay? Plus 4.
That's 14.
Correct. Okay. Now, sometimes we have formulas and we need to use one quantity to find the other, right? So this is the formula for how to go back and forth between Celsius degrees and Fahrenheit degrees, okay? And I do this like all the time, right? Like recently I went to the Middle East over the summer, and so over there it's like, oh my gosh, it's gonna be 28 degrees today. And so, obviously we're freezing our butts off, so I, do a little bit of conversion, right? Okay, so F equals 9 over 5C plus 32. F is the degrees in Fahrenheit. C is the temperature in Celsius, right? So here it says to rearrange the formula so that we get C in terms of F. So basically we want it to look like C equals blah. So let's see. F equals 9 over 5C plus 32. And it's this C that I'm going to solve for. So what is the first thing I get rid of? What is the farthest from the C on this side? The 32. So the first thing I want to do is I want to subtract 32 from both sides. So now I got F minus 32 is 9 over 5C. How do I get C alone? Multiply by the reciprocal 5 over 9. Okay? So then C is 5 over 9 in parentheses F minus 32. Okay?
That's like a simplified answer.
Yeah. You don't have to distribute this inside. Okay? So here, because you have an expression, when you multiply the 5 over 9, you have to multiply the whole thing by it. So now it says, what is the Fahrenheit equivalent of 40 degrees Celsius? Well, now that I have my cute little formula, I can just use it. Okay. So, oh, wait a minute. Sorry. I want the Fahrenheit equivalent of 40C. So am I going to be looking for F or C here? For F, so I'm actually going to use the original formula, F, this one. Okay? Sorry about that, guys. So F is, yeah, so F is 9 over 5C plus 32. And so this is, F is 9 over 5, what is the C? 40 plus 32. So let's see, this is F is, okay, so I'm going to do this first, right? Let's see, can we simplify this? Divide by 5, you get 8. So that's 72. Plus 32. Whew. 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay? So, yeah. So, like in Israel, for example, right? Like you measure temperature, like your temperature in Celsius, right? So it's not 98.6 degrees, it's 37 degrees if you're feeling okay. And then if you have a fever of 40 degrees, that's bad. That's 104 degrees here. So, you go to the doctor. Okay? All right. So that's where we're going to stop today.